the whiner
I'm so glad.
is just
Too much.
nonstop.
Too much. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. And the judge finally said, I mean, that's exactly what you do in California. You give a bullet point summary of what you were going to say. He carried, and they said starter pistol. We were using prop gun. I saw that Mr. Tacopino, one of his questions when I finally got to watch a little bit, said starter pistol, and I guess Mr. Phillips.
Mr. Phillips. How would you like to be addressed? Mr. Phillips.
Mr. Phillips, yeah. Right? I said sorry, and because he had been threatened in other incidents, and then look, I don't know what the incidents were. I can't quote them, damn it.
Too bad. Why didn't you interview the guy?
Or object to it beforehand when he said he didn't want to be interviewed by the cop. Why didn't you object?
And just because there was an interview in August of this witness, okay, and it involved some alleged facts that Mr. Lewin doesn't know about, it doesn't mean you get a copy of the report or I should say interview. There wasn't one. There weren't notes. Too bad. That's just too bad. You have an investigative arm, and it's not there's not discovery requiring the defense to give the prosecution things. That you have the ability to investigate.
I like one of our viewers to look up the LADA's office and see how many employees. I know it's on there. How many employees they have? How many investigators they have?
Mm-hmm.
Millions of. What's their budget? Come on, guys, you can do it. All right. And I use guys all inclusively.
Yeah, we're not judging that kind of craziness here. Yeah. Okay, so a couple of things. Let's talk about the sanctions. Okay.
Okay.
Because we did see one unfold, and I think we're going to get the actual clip of when the sanction was imposed. But let's start first with what we heard. The judge, and this was according to the judge, something he has never, ever done before. And, so that's something. So here's what he has never, ever, ever done before.
All right. I want to go on the record regarding something. I've actually never had to do this, but I'm going to do it. There have been, and I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody in particular. This, what I'm going to say, applies to everybody at the council table. There have been repeated speaking objections, arguing with witnesses that has occurred, arguing amongst counsel, snide comments made from one counsel to another, arguing with a decision of mine. That's not going to happen. If it does, I'm going to invoke CCP 177.5, which allows for monetary sanctions up to $1,500 for each time. And what will happen is, each time it happens, that will be another incident that will occur at a hearing after the trial. I've never had to do this, but to ensure, or to help ensure, that these things that I just mentioned do not occur again. That is why I am doing this. So please keep it in mind that I'm going to keep track. All right.
Okay, so I know we have it here somewhere. We'll go to the tote board because there was an imposition. There was an imposition just before the break. It was during the cross-examination by Lewin, and Mr. Taco was at the table. And Lewin starts basically critiquing his objection. That's not an objection. says the guy that objected earlier in the day to that's not discoverable. Objection, not discoverable. What is that? That's not an objection. So,
here's the thing too. He thinks he's cross-examining Robert Durst, right? This is a guy. I mean, Lewin had to say he was so busy in his cross-examination when he was saying that about time. He said, I travel all the time. He thought he said Tom. So when you go with Tom, and he said, no, I didn't say. Wait, how you going, Tom? And he said Tom, and the judge finally had to say, time.
He's
Time. Talk about when he's, he
so I
does
mean, it
it all
makes
the
it look like
time.
Lewin is, let's just say culturally insensitive. Put it that way.
Yeah. Not only
Yeah.
culturally insensitive, but just not wanting to listen to what he's trying to say. And my view is that juries don't like that. They've been sitting there. They want their time. They have time, right?
Of
They want
course.
to hear what he has to say.
Of
Tell us
course.
what he has to say.
So
Don't
let's
keep
talk about him.
objecting.
Let's talk about it. And there was a question here from, I never read the whole name because it makes me laugh, but Motion to Scream. Can we discuss the stark difference between Relli and 12V on the stand? Oh man, is there a
Oh,
difference? I didn't notice.
man.
They
Great.
seem so similar.
Great question. Motion to scream. WTF, Grant.
It's so
Great
stark.
question.
It's so starkly different that it's almost as if it doesn't matter what 12 says, because he's likable. He seems forthright, even in being cross-examined. He's not really argumentative. He's
Right.
asked for clarification a few times, but if you set the substance aside of what each of these witnesses have testified to, how do you not lean toward 12, right?
Right. I even I love the beginning when Lewin says to him, I know that our chat here has now, and Mr. Lewin may not like it, combined the word Lewin and Weiner to call him Lewiner. Okay. And we're getting a lot of stuff about it. And if our chat is any indication of the jury, the jury wants to hear what he is saying about the incident. And he had his little pointer. Did you see he had a pointer?
Yeah, and we're looking at this video, which we know from day one has been a glob. I'm sure it's slightly better for the jury. And to the credit of the pool camera, they have at times dropped that little filter down, which
Right.
helps clarify. But it's still, this is like a Fellini film. It is not very clear. It's a lot of objects moving around. But the way 12V explained it, Mr. Phillips, you could follow it. It
I
made
did.
sense.
For the first time, I really did.
And what do we get out of that? What's the bottom line? Relli was the aggressor.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And that's what Lewin was upset about. He
Of
said,
course.
you in answer to the question you mentioned several times that Relli is bigger. I didn't ask that question. But Relli in his testimony said he was bigger, right? He said he was 6. Relli was saying he's bigger. So when he's narrating his version, he's saying he's bigger. I couldn't.
Yeah, and so the jury could interpret that one of two ways. Lewin's way would be that he was embellishing because he is there to help Rocky however he can help him. That's one way to interpret it. The other way to interpret it is that's just his description of the guy and what was happening, that he was bullying Rocky and is it Ellie? Is that what it is? Or the other person? And I guess I don't know, maybe we're going to hear from the other person who was there that night, who, according to 12V, Relli was also attacking.
Right.
So,
and he was saying, no, I'm just trying to give you a fact to explain why it was I couldn't intervene to get him off him because I'm smaller. But he's much bigger than everybody. I was trying to give you a description of what was happening, which is what the jury is there to hear, a description of what was happening. So I don't know, Motion to Scream, how you feel about it. Well, actually, I do know because you just showed us. You thought that Mr. Phillips was reasonable and credible. How do the rest of you all feel? Do you think that I see African D? It's so different than Lewin is whining about how well prepared he was. Look at this one.
Weiner seems a bit unhinged.
Candy Temple. Yeah. The Weiner seems so.
And even after the jury was excused for lunch, and they had a little riff after that, and that's when Lewin was complaining that he didn't get material relating to the interview in August of 12V. Everything he says, it's just big, it's just loud. And the judge said, let's take it down. Let's take it down a notch. He doesn't even realize when he's yelling. He's just, I don't know if it's his just passion, he just can't control it, or he's just kind of a jerk. I'm not sure which it is. Maybe both.
Yeah, Great Missy, 800 clerical and support staff, 1,000 attorneys. And I think there's somewhere they have investigators and somewhere they have a budget, a big budget.
It's a ton of money. It's one of the curiosities of this case because we've been wondering all along, who was really involved in driving this case forward? Did they ever take a step back and say, this case sucks? So maybe they didn't invest, investigators into the process to the point that they could have learned what Weiner is now saying, he should be told.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the judge, well, you're taking me to the woodshed.
The woodshed.
Taking
Yeah,
me
he
to
said
the woodshed.
that's what Weiner said. He said, I'm getting taken to the woodshed. The judge said, well, you're only getting taken to the woodshed if you, violate these rules.
Well, I can't believe that was said. I really can't believe that was said. This, I believe, is the lunch break. So they're going to be gone to 4:30 at least. In our experiences, they don't necessarily set on time. Now, I have a question for everyone here. I was at a meeting this morning, so I assume that there was a decision made that the directed verdict motion could be held in abeyance. It's normally made after the state rests, but because you had witnesses there and a jury there, usually a lot of times judges will say, look, you haven't waived it. We'll get to your directed verdict motion, at some time in the future, even though it normally happens after the state's case. But I assume that happened. And there's a lot of things that go on, by the way, in a judge's chamber for scheduling like that we're not aware of, or back and forth with emails that we're not aware of. That's how long the break is.
And if the camera's shut off, and so because we were curious yesterday, if you're going to have the jury come in earlier, then you're not really counting on much time for an argument, right?
Right.
So
they had the jury come in earlier.
They may have addressed it in part of that housekeeping. Let's just get going. We understand you're going to make that motion, defense counsel, but let's get the witnesses in and out and go. Yeah. Not all that crazy.
Says Cat has the best gif of Joe doing it. He did that. Remember the early days, the crying emoji.
Yeah, I saw that. The meme.
So I don't know. This is motion to scream, says Lou Weiner, without calling it Lou Weiner. Tell me you've never been to a show without telling me you've never been to a show. Now that has to go when he said something about, well, I tried to get him to be involved with me in a show, right? And then for some reason that got translated by Lewin to mean that you're trying to lie to the jury. Michael, did you understand that?
No, it was a little unclear to me as well. So I'm not sure what was clearer, the witness's testimony or Lewin's interpretation of the testimony.
But he looks like he's trying to tell him what happened. But here's a good question. This is a start question, and I'm sorry, Missy, I haven't seen, there's so many questions here. Dexter Matamoro, what I don't understand is if the defense could have questioned 12, why not the state? Well, the state didn't even make an attempt until apparently 2 weeks before trial. And at that point, he said, I don't want to speak to you. So they could have called him. I'm sure he has a lawyer, right? He's represented probably by a law firm.
And something the judge had mentioned, very importantly, said there's a police report. There's a police report. So
why is that important? Why is that important?
Well, because it provides the prosecution, it provides everybody with important people, names and those who might be involved that you might want to talk to. So, and if you're
it
talking
suggests
to them,
it would suggest he was interviewed that night by the police with someone.
Well, he was certainly identified. That's what it looked like. I'm not sure if interviewed, but he was certainly identified. And so, prosecution, it's on them to do something with that.
Yeah, I just think my view is that when you have a regular normal person on the stand, and he's a regular normal person, he's a rapper, right? You don't attack him like he's a mafioso. You just don't. The jury wants to know what he said. And I wrote something down actually when we were, I wrote it to, and let me find it because I wrote it to our producers, and you know what I'm going to say when we were watching this. Let me see if I find it. So sorry for yelling. We had a little problem, by the way, with the feed earlier because we were on the long crime feed, and apparently they posted that their control room is having some issues. So we have switched to a different feed, I believe the Court TV feed, and we seem to have no problems with it. By the way, Taco Pino was objecting. You wrote, Lord was on the witness stand or something. What was that, Michael? Explain that. It's funny,
I don't remember.
Because it was so wild. It was absolutely so wild. But I said that jurors don't want to They want to be told the story. They don't like it.
Oh, I see the note you're looking at.
Go ahead.
I think what Diz is telling me that we have, I don't know if I can pull it in the middle of what I'm doing here, but we have that moment at which the first sanctions, let's go to the tote board. The first
Okay.
sanctions have been issued, but I don't know if I can do that while we're chatting. I'll try. Go ahead,
Okay.
continue. Go ahead with what you were looking
So
for.
why didn't they call the witness? Why didn't they investigate the case? Because, I know what I wrote to you before I answer that. Yeah, all of a sudden said he was going at Mr. Phillips, Lewin was going at Mr. Phillips saying, they're very powerful people. ASAP Rocky could stop your contracts right away. Could stop your contracts. He said, no, I mean, I'm an artist. I have a name. I could go under a different ASAP name and I'd still be out there. I have a following and I travel with other people. And then he said, and here's where I thought it was dirty. Okay. And ASAP Rocky and his significant other, Rihanna, they're powerful people. They can go after you. Now, no, the defense has not really used Rihanna to Rocky's benefit. The only time they mentioned her initially was when in the opening, remember, Lewin put a picture of, or not Lewin, was Paul put a picture of Rihanna up right at the opening.
I do.
And then when the defense asked something about it, there was an objection from Lewin. They said, well, you put the picture up of her, but they haven't used her like she's an asset, right, in terms of the questioning. But then Lewin goes in to use her like, she's a bad, powerful woman who's going to come back and retaliate against you. And I thought that was really
okay. Here's sort of I disagree with that, and here's why.
Okay, let's talk.
This guy's in the biz. However he describes himself, clearly he wants to succeed. I think it would be. It almost goes without saying that if you have a power couple like we have with Rocky and Rihanna, it would not take much for them to squash his aspirations. It wouldn't even have to be all that targeted. If it was learned that he fell out of favor with them as a result of this, that could hurt him. I think that's legitimate. So I don't have a problem with him bringing that up. I think the counter argument to that is that I think the counter argument is going to be that there's no evidence that ever happened. That's
right. Well, that's it. She hasn't been mentioned in this case. The only people mentioning her is the state. She hasn't been mentioned in this case. I mean, she really hasn't. He hasn't said anything. Even Relli didn't say anything. Right? Relli didn't say anything about her. I don't think there was a word about her.
No, I don't think anybody has, other than Lewin, has, and the prosecution as a whole, Polly P, have brought her name up. I don't think. Okay, I have that. I was able to do this multitasking here. So
I know, because you're great.
Let's see if because I have a split personality. Okay, let me see. I think this is it. I'm counting on Diz. Let's see what we got here.
All right,
Oh wait, that's the wrong one. Sorry, my bad. Next, I got another one here. Hold on. Is that the right one? Yes, I think this is the right one. Sal.
Are you finished? Yes. That has been represented. Objection is sustained. Mr. Phillips, does what you just read, does that completely encompass everything that you said to the defense during your one interview with them?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. There's no grounds.
Grounds. It's misleading because it's not a sworn statement. It's not a written statement. It is.
That's not a proper objection.
It is for me.
that's one. Both of you.
That's one, both of you.
Your Honor, grounds.
And he still won't stop. Your Honor, grounds. So
I wish we could get a screenshot of that face. We have to go back. Let's go back and grab that screenshot.
Let's see. I'll pause it so you can get a look at it.
Let's see if when he kind of turns. I don't know if we can do it slow motion enough. There, it was right back one click. It was right back one click.
Yeah.
It's hard to do it because it was like back one click. Keep going.
Oh, where is it? His snarl? It's kind of like a snarl.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold on. Keep it right
How's
there,
that?
Michael. I'm gonna take a screenshot of that. Hold it right there while I get a screenshot of that. I can get a screenshot of that too.
That's the face of a guy who just got sanctioned $1,500.